You're listening to the Bird Dog Babe podcast with my mom, Courtney Bastion.
This podcast is sponsored by Purina Pro Plan, Boss Shotshells, and Onyx Hunt.
You know, this just goes back to this thing about like HerUpland, and what I love about it is that it's inclusive and it brings people in, and it's really there not just to be a flash in the pan and be like, oh, here's this crazy thing you did for the summer. It's to really teach women to be in these spaces and retain them in a way that they can, that number can grow. So that, X number of women started hunting this year and then they stayed, right? Yeah. And they stayed.
And they taught somebody else, or they brought somebody else out with them because they felt like they had enough knowledge that they had gained, put to the test. It's that mission of learn, do, teach. I just arrived back from the NAVHDA Invitational in New Mexico and want to give big kudos to the ZIA chapter for hosting a fantastic week, the NAVHDA Invitational Committee for an incredibly organized event in a new location, and all of the volunteers who operated like well-oiled machines, keeping things running smoothly. That is some gorgeous country. It was hosted at the New Mexico Girls and Boys Ranch, which is doing amazing things, and I'm so proud to be a part of the NAVHDA organization, who donated 100% of the proceeds from the raffle and auction items to the ranches. Congratulations to everyone who qualified to get there and to those who were fortunate to go home with a new versatile champion. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, September 21st at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time, I've invited Patreon patrons of the Bird Dog Babe podcast to join me on my tailgate while I cook up my favorite sharp-tailed grouse recipe. It's an easy one that you can enjoy right after your hunt with a fresh bird in the bag. And I'll be doing a giveaway of my secret ingredient that is a must-have for game bird recipes. And I think it's only available in Montana. So you're going to want to be in and try to get in on this. During that, we will be celebrating fellow patrons Terry and Lisa Ulrich and George Iacomini and their new versatile champions, and hear all about their experience at the Invitational. And then I'd like to hear from everyone else on the call. How was your training and testing season? Have you had any early season success? Or do you have any upcoming hunting trips planned? We do these once a month, and I love the opportunity to chat with all of you and get to know you personally. So if you're not already on there, go to patreon.com/thebirddogbabe. Per usual, I donate $100 to an organization of the presenter's choice, and since it's me that's cooking the grouse tomorrow, I have chosen and have already donated $100 to the New Mexico Boys and Girls Ranch. I'm so grateful for all the work that they put into hosting us there, their mission, and hope we'll be back down there again. Between a week of hunting on the prairie and then a week in New Mexico, I ran out of dog food while on the road. A big perk to feeding Purina Pro Plan is that it's available at so many different locations across the country. PetSmart, Petco, Fleet Farm, Tractor Supply, Menards, Murdoch's, Pet Supplies Plus, you name it. So it wasn't difficult to find one of those during my travels. And while the formula I fed, the Pro Plan Sport 3020, wasn't in stock at PetSmart, they did have several other options available, which had a 26% protein and a 16% fat versus the 30% protein, 20% fat that I usually feed, but not a big deal because a week or so with the lower protein and lower fat won't make a noticeable difference. And what's nice is that with Pro Plan, you can switch between any of the formulas and not have to worry about the dog having stomach upset. Yeah, nobody needs that happening during travels. All of their formulas are made with the same high quality ingredients, and once I got back home, I switched right back to the Sport 3020, and again, a flawless transition. Go to Purina.com or just shoot me an email, and we can find a formula that's right for your dog. This is my third season shooting Boss Shotshells. What will never get old is when I give someone new a handful of Boss to try out on their hunt, and then hearing them say, "Dang, that Boss kills." Lead-free, American-made, copper-plated shells delivered directly to your door. Go to bossshotshells.com and get yours ordered today. I don't think there has been a day in the month of September that I haven't utilized Onyx, using it for scouting ideal hunting land, letting people know where to meet me, checking property boundaries while I'm out there, setting waypoints every time I get into birds, and searching for ideal camp locations. I would literally be lost without Onyx. If for some reason you don't have the #1 GPS hunting app already, go to onyxmaps.com and use promo code BDB20 for 20% off. Thanks to my partners, Siren Shotguns. I have been shooting my Siren 20 gauge Tempio Light, aka Venus, on every hunt so far this season. Once in a while, I'll switch over to the Siren Elos D2, but Venus and I have spent a lot of time preparing for this season the past several months together, and we really are in sync right now. I feel it's a lot like how Angus and I are more in sync this year than ever in the past, having been going through so much training this summer together. I don't think I have ever put so much into preparing for a hunting season. Shooting lessons for me, utility training for Angus, and already in early season, it's proven to be a great investment. Check out sirenusa.com and view all the options of the only full line of shotguns for women. And dang, I like those Dakota 283 kennels. I feel like after these past couple weeks on 2 tracks and gravel roads, everything in and around my truck is covered in dirt. The Dakota 283 kennels not only keep my dogs safe during travel, but they're lightweight and they have a built-in handle on top of them that I can get in and out of my truck easily. They really needed a good pressure wash, and with that drain hole in the back, I didn't have to tip it over 13 different times to get all the water out. Go to dakota283.com and use promo code BirdDogBabe for 10% off. In today's episode, my good friend and frequent guest of the podcast, Katie Willis, joins me as we discuss my crazy summer, all things building HerUpland, future plans, and some dang good conversation. All right, let's get after it. But you also know that I do not like to edit, so try to keep the F-bombs to a minimal.
Do you want me to go put my stethoscope on?
What does that do?
It makes me not swear.
Really?
Yeah.
Because then you think like you're at work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if that's what it takes, put your stethoscope on. That's like putting sunglasses on and not seeing anybody in the room, feeling like you're invisible.
Now you know what it's like to come see me. Well, hello, Miss Bastian. What brings you into the clinic today?
I love that you're not going to swear because you have your stethoscope on.
I've been trained.
Has it ever slipped?
Yeah, no, it doesn't slip, but sometimes I just say, look, the situation, pardon my language, is really shitty. And I'm like, there's no other way to go around it. Like, your lungs are toast, you keep smoking. Like, this is just a shitty situation, you know, sometimes.
Yeah, at least you're honest.
I am. I'm very honest. It gets me into trouble. Some people like it. Some people don't. Okay. So, stethoscope on. Are you going to say hello to me? Am I going to say hello to you? How do you want to start this?
Yeah. Hey there, Katie Willis. Thanks for joining me for this podcast today after quite a hiatus.
Hi, Courtney Bastian. I've been missing you, as have pretty much everybody else in the podcast forum here.
I appreciate that.
Where have you been?
It's been a busy summer. It's been a really, really busy summer. I've had a lot of stuff going on, and I feel like every week I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get this episode edited and published, and then it just turns into another week of something else happening. So episodes are definitely recorded. They're just not edited and published yet. So we're doing this interim to have a little explanation of what's been going on, because you've been part of what's been going on.
Yeah.
A large part of that.
Well, I feel like we both
maybe you're to blame.
I could be to blame. To blame. I did convince you to keep at least one extra puppy. I did convince you to keep one extra puppy. And I said that you should keep him only because I promised myself that I was not going to get a puppy this year. Because I was made a hard and firm rule, no new puppies until the Muppets were through their utility training. And what did I do the week before the utility test? I got a puppy.
But it was only 1 week prior to your promise to yourself.
Like 1 week prior. Yeah. Like 1 week prior. All of the hard work was done, but yeah. So, and then
then you got 2.
Yeah, and as per my usual, I was like, oh, hey, I just want 1 puppy, but Kelly, you happen to have an extra puppy. I'll just take that. I'll just borrow that one. It's worked out so well last time. And then you still have 7 puppies, right? You kept a whole litter.
Technically, like we decided to keep 6. There are currently 7 because Malcolm is a very special puppy. He needed to stay here longer. But he is still looking for a home.
He is a very special puppy.
And I've turned down several because he needs to go to a very special place.
That is entirely true. I do agree with that. I do agree with that.
But the reason for 6, let's be fair and explain to everybody why we kept 6.
Because they're perfect.
They are. And it probably should have actually been 7, but then our very good friends Andrew and Rachel showed up one day for training.
Oh, right.
And they are like, oh, well, we should probably get one of these puppies. I'm like, oh, thank God somebody's going to take one of these.
Yeah.
And so then they took one. So now we are down to 6, or else we would have definitely had 7.
Yeah.
But
I feel like it's just the shotgun approach to having bird dogs. It's the same way that I shop for clothes, right? Like when I go in shopping for clothes because I hate it, I clear all of the racks because then I am likely to get a pellet on one thing that really works. And I feel like that's the puppy scenario where you had some really great litters and you probably only need to keep like 1 or 2, but you're going to get to really evaluate and see a lot of amazing puppies and really get to see how they grow and develop. And it is pretty neat. Like I will say this adventure with the Muppies and having the litter mates has been so cool and has added so much to just my understanding and training. Like I'm kind of jealous of your 6 puppies.
Yeah. And we typically, like I'll tell people, never get 2 puppies of the same age. Never, absolutely do not ever keep litter mates. But as a breeder, it's something different to consider. And from experience, when we had a really great litter and we had 2 puppies, we ended up letting one go too early because the one that we kept from that litter, her bite went off at 6 months old. Oh. So then we had 0 puppy from a really great litter. Yeah. We ended up buying back into a male from that one. But so, stuff like that happens. And we didn't have any litters last year. Yeah. And the year, like moving here. So there was like 3 years without a litter. Yeah. And my husband and I, we have 2 separate lines, hunting lines. Dogs that we like to hunt with. And so there were 3 puppies that I fell in love with and wanted to keep, and he had 3. So it just ended up being 6. 3 live upstairs with my crew and 3 live downstairs with his crew.
And potentially more importantly, a very amazing young man and a astoundingly wonderful young lady both fell in love with different puppies, didn't they?
That's very true. The children each have a puppy as well.
So you really only have 1.
Technically, but my one has been stolen and my husband's, hash browns. Hash browns has been stolen by my husband.
I knew he would. That's why I picked Hash. For the record, podcast universe. Yeah. Hash browns was my choice. And
you named him.
And I named him.
Nobody in a normal mindset would name a puppy hash browns. But Katie Willis does.
I knew Willie would steal that dog. I knew he would.
But
he
he's
would.
a hash browns. Yeah,
He's
we couldn't
so
even
hash
change his
browns.
name.
He's 100% hash browns. Yeah.
Yep. So,
well, and for the listeners out there who follow along with all of the adventures, hash browns is a 3/4 sibling to my gravy. So they're perfect. Hash browns and gravy. I cannot wait to put them together. I wish that we could, like, it almost makes me want to like enter them into some sort of bird dog event where they have to work in a brace, so that there's some judges someday that have to evaluate hash browns and gravy at the same time. We should run them in NASTR against each other just so that they could be in a brace.
On brace number 2 for the day, we have hash browns and gravy. It'd be good. I feel like it would make people laugh, and ultimately the goal in life is to make people laugh and have a good time.
It 100% is. It is 100% the important goal. And so you have a lot of puppies. We also did we both of us separately and together did a lot of training, and you ran your first utility.
I did. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Extra work.
It is a lot of work to get to utility.
It is.
Yeah.
And there was a point this summer, when I was like, oh man, like I had them entered in the August test, and you have that in your vision and in your preparation. And then there was a point where I'm like, you know what? Like, we're just not there. And I know how much more I need to put into it before August. And I don't think I can do it. And I started backing out. And then I lost my confidence of, I don't think I can do this with him. And there was also a point where I had to work on that same weekend. Yeah. I did a lot of travel over the summer, and one of the schedules I was given an event was the same weekend as my dog, and I was told I needed to be there. And so I was handing him over to my husband to do, and which he didn't want to. It's a different type of dog, and Angus and I have quite a bond.
Yeah.
And
you guys have a really, really special bond. I loved training with you guys, and I love hunting with you guys even more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking the other day, I was like, God, I love hunting over Angus. But then I was like, do I love hunting over Angus, or do I love hunting over Angus and Courtney? Because like, you guys are really special. Like, you really are special. He is wholly and completely devoted to you on like, and I feel like this is utility training, man. Like, how many ladies can you talk to, people that you can talk to, where it's like, yeah, I had a good bond with my dog. I worked, like we did a bunch of stuff, and then you talk to folks that like push it to that utility level. And it's like that trial by fire, man. Like, as metal sharpens metal, so too do, a man sharpen man. I think it's actually a Bible verse, I think, but I'm not as versed in the Bible as some people. But it's that idea of like two creatures, two souls working together, kind of not against each other, but alongside each other, that really sharpen that edge. And what you have is really special, and I'm glad you stuck with it.
Me too. I've run a lot of dogs in natural ability. I've even done senior AKC hunt tests, but like, I think that developing a dog to that level, going through that retrieve process, going through the steadiness, and man, like the duck search, all of it, like just knowing like that you can rely on your dog, and walking into the day of your test being like, my dog's ready. I'm going to have a 204 day because my dog is ready. And if anything goes wrong, it's just because of me. Yeah. And, like that's getting to that level was a lot. It was a lot. Yeah. And with him, he's, the breed in general, I don't want to say that they're necessarily considered a soft breed. They're just, sensitive, and you yell at them and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Or, so I couldn't even use an e-collar on him. In the retrieve process, I learned I was just going to try a tone, and that even a tone shut him down. So I had to take the collar off 100% completely, and I couldn't do any e-collar training with him at all. So his response to me was based on my reactions to his actions.
Yeah.
And so I had to be 100% aware of that. And my husband had corrected me several times of, you need to praise him now, and a lot. And because that's what he fed off of. And if I didn't, like that next bird was going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't think, I haven't been around a lot of Broncos. In fact, I've been around two. But if I was to take it away from like the breed and what it could mean for a breed, what I find very, very interesting about my experience with wire hairs versus watching you and Angus is there's a certain amount of selfishness in wire hairs. Mm-hmm. So my training experience is that you have to teach the dog that the better adventure is with you. Like the better adventure, like you can go have your adventure, you crazy wild hair, but if you stick with me and you work with me and you come with me, we're going to have a better adventure. And Angus is selfless. He doesn't have that, like, and I don't know whether that's a Bronco breed thing or not, but I wouldn't say that he's sensitive or anything like that. I would say that he is selfless.
Yeah. He just knows that the better adventure is always going to be with me.
You don't have to convince him, right? Like, right. You don't have to convince him. He's not like a wild hair where you're like, go ahead, I'm going to pop 500 pigeons out of traps and you're going to get 0 until you decide to come hang out with me. And right. It's already like, hey, best friend, what does best friend want today?
Yeah. And I don't know. I could say that is something. I don't have a lot of experience in the breed. He's my third one, but I can say all 3 of mine, I've never had to work at a recall. Yeah. You say their name and they are happy to come right back to you. Yeah. Because like you said, like they know the better adventure is always with their adventure partner. Yeah. Yeah. So, so maybe that's all relative to it, but you're right. The wire hairs just have that independent, like I can get this done without you. It'd be great if you would like to join me.
Yeah. Like it takes a little convincing. And, and I think, I said this earlier, and anybody that stands next to me, like, I don't think you can go wrong with a bird dog. And I don't have a lot of time for people who bag on other dogs and different breeds or whatever, because there are a lot of great bird dogs out there, and, everybody's got a different thing. And, I know that there are people that stand around next to me when I'm training or working my dogs and I'm yelling and being ridiculous, trying to get a hold of them. And they're like, why would anybody in their right mind want that? But it suits me down to just the core. And so, I've really enjoyed, we're going to talk about it a little bit more later, but I felt that was one of the really amazing things of the HerUpland pointing dog training camp, was really getting to see not only so many different breeds of dogs, but different dogs, and getting to see all of the ways that people connected with their dogs, more than just a basic training day, because we were there for 3 days. So you got to see the same dogs over and over again. And it, for a person like me who is just endlessly curious and wants to, push her own knowledge bank, it's really great to be around other bird dogs, other bird dog breeds, other trainers, other people working their dogs. Cause I feel like every single conversation that I've had this summer with anyone about training bird dogs, everything, I've left with more than I came with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the relationship differences that everybody has with their dog.
Yeah.
And I like that it's not, and you and I had talked about this earlier, like, I love that Angus just isn't a great rep of the breed, but I love that the people that have hunted with him have enjoyed him as just a really nice hunting dog in general. And I think that that's something, regardless of what your breed of choice is, each dog brings something different to the table. Hell, who didn't enjoy Midge working last week in the prairies, and I got her for my little rough grouse dog.
Yeah.
And her work in the prairies was a blast, and she's just enjoyable.
She's just, It's, I mean, I think that that's the amazing thing about dogs in general and bird dogs specifically, is that when a bird dog comes out to get to work, they put so much, like, they are lit from within with a joy that is refreshing, astounding, and amazing. And I guess I feel bad for anybody that is so into their own breed or their own scene that they can't just see a damn good bird dog hit the ground and be like, hot damn, look at that guy go.
Yeah. Like, Chloe dropping the Gordon setter.
Oh
Hyatt,
my God,
holy cow.
Gordon. Oh my God.
Right?
He is so wonderful. Hyatt is so wonderful. And
amazing.
Yeah. I mean, in the same, like, yeah. They're just for the joy of bird dog, right? Like, just the joy, the absolute joy of bird dog is I'm super grateful that it found its way into my life, because not only do I get to enjoy all these bird dogs, but I get to enjoy all these amazing relationships that I've gotten, out of this community.
What is it about great people that are in this bird dog community? I don't know. I just got home from the NAVHDA Invitational yesterday, and like every single person there, just amazing. And I could not have spent, a week with better people. Yeah. I loved it.
Tell me about the Invitational, because I haven't talked to you since, like, it sounds crazy that, like, I haven't talked to you in a week, Courtney.
I know.
You have been so busy.
I know.
You've been so busy.
It is so busy. Yeah. And I'm really sorry. I do get messages from people that are like, are you ever going to do another podcast again? I'm like, I am. And I feel so bad. And I just hope people can understand. And I've definitely talked to the sponsors, because that's a huge commitment for them as well. And, thankfully, we've been able to share the platform with the HerUpland stuff. And so they're happy to support that in the same aspect with the podcast. But yeah, it's there's a lot going on, kind of even beneath the scenes that, just a lot of things. But we're the NAVHDA Invitational was great. That Zia chapter down there, phenomenal. This chapter put on an entire invitational, and for the very first time at a very new location, and like they did an amazing job. They welcomed us like they had done it before, and it was outstanding. And it's hunting in the West. Like, we did see a couple rattlesnakes throughout the week, but you know what? Like, you should, because that's hunting in the West. If anybody's ever come out to Montana, any of the Western states, that's what happens. Be prepared. Well,
when they do it in Montana, they're going to have to buy a bunch of pepper spray for all the damn bears.
I know. My husband and I were talking about that yesterday. I'm like, we really need to have an invitational in Montana. And and I'm like, maybe we do it more in like the Kalispell area. But we are going to have to bring bear spray. And sometimes we have these dog training camps at this location as well, where we have to put electric fencing around tents to keep our people safe. I did, after everybody signed up for that, I did tell them afterwards, by the way, there is potential for grizzly bears in this area. But nobody backed out. Nobody backed out. They're hardcore.
I think the best part of that was that I wasn't getting the emails. And like, I didn't get the email about being afraid of bears and like the bear thing. And then I had a couple people like text me and they were like, are you still going with the bear situation? And I was like, yeah, like I ain't worried about no bears. But yeah, it's like, and then I got the emails and I was like, oh yeah, bears are concerned. Yeah.
Well, some people did know that, like, 10 miles from the location, a woman was eaten by a bear in her tent last year.
And what was it? The last day after everybody left, William Bastian saw a grizzly bear.
Yeah, but it was good. Like, you know what? That's the stuff that happens. We can get into it of our HerUpland camps. Like, you need a little bit of grit. You need a little bit of grit.
Well, and I think that's the thing about, like, I mean, it was sort of similarly to back when I used to be a river guide and a ski patroller, right? Like, and people come out and, you'd be like, you guys got to paddle. And they'd be like, what do you mean? And I'd be like, honey, this is not Disneyland and the log ride where there's a track that guides us all the way through. So yeah, your experience and what happens to us is directly related to like what you do.
Yeah.
And I think it is. I mean, like, one of the things that really, there's a lot of reasons that I'm super excited that you invited me to join you in the HerUpland project and adventure. But one of the big ones is the goal of empowering. Like, it is intimidating to go hunting by yourself. It's intimidating to go hunting by yourself. And I now, 14 years in, feel really comfortable hunting by myself. But there were a lot of years early on when I had bird dog where I would want to go and I would not go because I couldn't get someone to go with me. I was worried about the roads. The technology wasn't there for me to be able to let people know where I was going to be. You
didn't necessarily know where the cover was ideal.
Yeah, like I didn't know. And so I had to wait around for a lot of people and go with people, and I've been super fortunate, as I've spoken about in the past. Like, I have been blessed with mentors, and I continue to be blessed with mentors and people who are willing to help me along and to show me stuff and to teach me stuff. I mean, going just back to the utility training, like, I ran the puppies in both the NAVHDA Utility and the Versatile Hunting Dog Federation AHA, and they both did really well. And that is not my accomplishment. Mm-hmm. That is an accomplishment that I would have never touched or even come close to achieving without all of the local folks that helped me with just like bird setting and like helping me run the drills that I knew and understood, and the weekends and days. I mean, like, what was I up with you and William for 9 days?
Mm-hmm.
Training. I was with Jeff Funky in Idaho for 6 or 7 days of just really amazing people that, and all of that I got from the HerUpland pointing dog training camp.
Yeah.
Of just people who have such a vast knowledge bank that were willing to put their arm around me and be like, here you go, Katie, bring your dogs and let's come along. And like, I'm so grateful for that. And like, if there's anything that I can do to take that and like offer my hand to somebody else that wants to come along, because it is intimidating out there and it isn't a Disney ride. And there is a lot of stuff that can come up and be unexpected. And you do need to have a lot of grit and a lot of determination. And you've got to be capable and competent, and you've got to be willing to get out there and get after it. But you also need someone to help you, like you also
always,
you need that.
You need to feel comfortable asking people to help you.
Yeah. You
need to ask for it, even that's it can be intimidating, difficult task.
Yeah, it can be. And I think that the thing is like, communication is a two-way street. Like, you have to be clear in your communication. You have to be willing to hear what other people have to say. And then you have to be able to make, your own sort of judgment based on that information. Like, you have to ask for what you want. Mm-hmm. And then if you and if someone is not interested in sharing that with you, then you've got to be willing to move on and find somebody else that's willing to help you out. And then, I think it's like, I think I said it to you the other day of just like, it's funny to me that communication is the thing that we do the most. Like, besides eating, breathing, and those types of things, like, we spend the bulk of our lives like talking to other people, and you would think that we would be better at it, but like, right. Like, not everything that you say hits someone the way that you meant it to. And sometimes you hear stuff, and like, good communication requires like an openness and an honesty, to really be able to get to the heart of the matter. And if you want to have like really rich, beautiful experiences, you have to be willing to be on both sides of the conversation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's a lot of advice with dog training. So you need to be able to filter out what it is that you find useful, helpful, that you can gain from. But it's also important to not just be on the receiving end, but also be on the giving end. So, okay, you just helped me and my dog do a duck search. Now I'm going to turn around and go grab some ducks and put them out for your dog. Don't always be looking for help, but be the one offering help. And then maybe they'll turn around and say, oh, is there something I can help you with now? Yeah. So,
well, that was my first experience with bird dog training, was when I went out with my friend, who became my friend, Melissa. She was a complete stranger to me. And when I went out and asked her for help, I didn't ask her to train my dog. I didn't ask her to work my dog. I didn't even ask if I could bring my dog. I asked if I could clean her pigeon coops. Seriously. Like, I was just like, look, I'm reading these books online. Like, I'm reading some books. I'm looking at some stuff online. 14 years ago, there was a podacity of information online about bird dog training. And so my original ask of her was, if I could just come out and set pigeons and clean coops. Like, I was like, I don't even need to bring my dog with me. I just want to see you work. And so I went out with her, and she taught me how to fill launchers and showed me how to put the launchers out. And it's one of those things where, like, one of the big things that is a huge, like, we talk about where have you been all summer, but if you're training a dog for utility, that's all. It's like every day off, you're spending at least half a day. Every night after work, you're working the table, you're doing the drills in the alley. Even if they're just like, 20, 30-minute drills, the setup and takedown of doing those drills is a lot of work. And and so you do as much as you can by yourself in your yard and in your alley and those sorts of things. And then you go out on the weekend and you're training your dog, somebody else is training their dog. And it's just a lot of work, and it's incredibly time consuming. And so anytime that someone can jump in and help out and do that hand, it makes a huge difference. And so I didn't know that, but Melissa did. And she was like, heck yeah, girl, you can come out and set pigeons for me. But I went out there and I started and just setting pigeons and watching her work dogs. And then she'd be like, okay, well, why don't you bring Colt out like that? And for those people, Colt is what we used to call bird dog before I started calling him bird dog, but back then he was Colt. She's like, just bring him out and we'll just run a single drill. And that's the whole thing, is like, I might go out to her place and be there for 6 hours. And I probably only worked my dog for 20 or 30 minutes out of that 6-hour process. But it's that thing of just like, I was there to learn. I was there to be mentored. I learned a lot watching her work those other 6 dogs and how they took the training and how she had to adjust to them. And so I do think, yeah, like if you want, you know, like those types of things is like, yeah, you gotta put boots on the ground to get that knowledge and to get that time.
Yeah. It's all day. I mean, I don't think a day went by that I didn't do something. You know, if I didn't have time to get out in the field, it was me realizing my dog doesn't like to be separated from me. You know, just leaving him on the Cato board, walking behind a tree and shooting a blank. That was difficult for him. So, you know, so I would bring him in when he came in from outside going potty. I would have him sit at the rug by the door, and I would start walking around the house in small areas away from him. Then I'd go downstairs. I would have the kids make noise. You know, it's all the things of not realizing that all those little bits in the dog's daily regular routines can make a big difference. And even healing. You know, I turned a dog from when he was let out of his kennel, just running around the house rambunctious, and then going outside. I turned it into, I open your kennel door, you are healing with me to go outside. When you're sitting before I open the door, I don't release you to go out the door until you're sitting still. And then same thing when he comes back in. So he's probably like, oh man, like this new structured life for me is not amazing, but like it worked, it paid off.
Well, and I think that that's also the thing too, is like, that's a foible of training, right? Is like, how many people train at the same place every single time, right? And like, you have to go train at other places, and you have to go work other places and other scenarios. I mean, part of my road trip to training was the fact that the only utility test that I could get registered in was in Utah, which, if we're going to give shout out to chapters, Wasatch Mountain is a heck of a chapter. They put on a really fantastic test. They really do. They have great grounds. They're awesome. I loved being there. But like, I knew I wasn't going to be able to get down and train on their training grounds. So I was like, cool, I can't just work ponds in Central Oregon. Like, I need to put these dogs in as many different ponds and as many different fields as possible so that they're used to that. And I think that that's like, what is the point of training? Like, if the point of training is to get the prize, your poor dog. Like, to be hunting, and you're not going to hunt the same spot every time. And like, building that diversity, and like, to have a really truly good hunting companion, you want to be able to walk them at a heel into the vet clinic. And, you know, if you're traveling to hunt, you know, you're going to be stopping at a lot of rest areas. You're going to be staying in hotels. You're going to be staying at other people's houses. And those basic obediences are worth their weight in gold, right? Because
100%.
You know, because it's like, you want to have, like, I hate to use the cliche of it, but like a good canine citizen, you know, like a good canine citizen that people are happy to have come to their house. And they're happy to throw in the back of their truck. And because your dog is comfortable, right? Because your dog has been in a lot of different places and a lot of different spaces, and they're comfortable hunting and living and being anywhere. And they know that their manners it's not that their manners aren't situational, right? Does that make sense?
It does. Absolutely. It's just expected all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it's been a busy summer. Should we talk a little bit more about, speaking of training, should we talk a little bit more about the freaking first of HerUpland training camp?
We should because it was amazing. It was in June. Mm-hmm. We had 6 instructors come in. So we had Ruth Weiss, Bridget Nielsen, Tracy Nelson, Kat Pippett, Stacy Horse, and Angie Kunin. and it was amazing. We had
Oh my
30.
God.
How many participants did we have?
We
30?
had like 36.
30.
It was
It ended up being more, because we had the youth spots. We had 4 youth spots, and then their chaperones too. So,
chaperones.
yeah,
It was
amazing.
I mean, that a beautiful location.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful location. Amazing grounds. Those 6 women that showed up to instruct, just like, and I think that this goes back to, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but like, the like 6 women, all outstanding trainers in their own right.
Absolutely.
And each one of them had a different way to show you how to skin that cat. And, and so it was really, and I think that that's a thing too, where like you look, you need to look critically at these things where you can say, that's not my training method. Like that's not, like, to see the value, and like, it's like the whole idea of like the wheat and the chaff, right? Is like, in order to get the wheat, you have to be able to put the kernel in your hands, rub them together, and blow what you don't need away, and keep what you find valuable. And so, I mean, like 6 different phenomenal women with amazing experience of bird dog training, hunting, judging, the whole shebang. And each of them had a different way to tell you how to work your dog. And like, it's just to be able to come in and say, yeah, that works for me. That doesn't work for me. I'm interested in pursuing this. I'm going to do something different this way. And then the women that showed up to train, I mean, so there were the ladies from Michigan.
We had Minnesota. Yep.
We had the California crew.
Yep.
That drove out.
We had some training for the Invitational.
We had some Invitational. We had Oregon, Washington. I mean, we had the West Coast covered, right? Like we had Oregon, we had California, Oregon, and Washington.
Wyoming.
We had Wyoming come.
We had Tennessee.
Oh my God, yeah, like,
and Alaska.
Oh yeah, that's right. Like, oh my God, like oh my God, that's right. I was like, oh yeah, Minnesota was the longest anyone drove. No, there was a lady that
Tracy flew in from Alaska with her large Munsterlander.
Oh my God, what a lovely dog.
Aren't they both lovely? Even like,
they're so lovely. But like, I can't even imagine like flying a dog and then expecting them to show up and like be anything. Like
it's great.
It was so great, and just like
we just needed more time. We needed more time. Yeah,
we needed more time. But like, I have to say, Courtney, for that was a huge lift on your part, and like anyone who's ever organized anything, to put together all of those people, all of the sponsors. We had great raffles, you had great speakers, and really to support that many people in that space. That was a huge lift. Like I would have probably, if I'd have done that, I'd have been like, and I'll see you guys in 2023. Like, I'm out for the rest of the year.
Yeah. But look what happened though. So, I mean, not only did you step up, like you signed up to come as a participant, right? And you stepped up into a role that was unforeseen, and you saw that there was a hole, that there's a gap there that needed to be filled, and you filled it like 110%. And then most valuable mom, Jan Persia.
Oh my God.
What's she doing first day? She's directing traffic. She's telling everybody where to park. Jan Persia is just coming with Katie to hang out with some women and some bird dogs. And she's like, somebody needs to be directing. I'm not going to point out who needs to do it. I'm just going to grab that role and I'm going to get it done. Yeah. And it was great.
I will say, I hope that everybody in the universe has a mom that so wholly supports her children the way that my mom does.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, you should come to a HerUpland event, because my mom will be there and she will wrap her arms around you and
Absolutely,
love
she will.
you to that level. I mean,
Mhm.
here we are. We've talked about this and it is going to happen. We are going to do a video on how to change your tire, because changing a tire is a valuable skill. Everybody needs it. And I keep saying how important it is, and then we just have way too many things on our plate to do. But here we are at the camp. One of the participants comes up and she's like, I have a huge chunk of wire in my tire. And my mom and I walk over there, and sure enough, she has got this giant chunk of barbed wire. It is jammed into her tire. No dice. She does not know how to change her tire. So my mom was married to my father, who was a mechanic and ran tire stores. And they ran a small service gas station when I was born. My mom was out changing oil and like washing windshields and pumping gas when she was 5 months pregnant with me. And my dad believed that everyone should know how to change a flat tire. And so the two of us set about changing that flat tire and getting it off. And that was the first step, right? Is like getting the spare off. We got all that done. And then just like my mom, in like her most beautiful, like wholeheartedly compassionate way, looks at the woman who was participating and said, let me take your tire to town.
Yeah.
Because it's going to take a couple hours to get this sorted out. And I don't want you to miss any of your camp.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I hope that everybody in the world has someone that is willing to love like that. And if you don't, you should come to one of our camps and have the MVM, the most valuable mom, be that for you, because she just is.
She's great.
She's so great.
She's great.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the, that's kind of the purpose for the camps though too, right? It's for everybody to chip in, and that's why we go through the teaching how to load birds in a launcher, how to do a winger zinger, how to plant birds, how to wing lock birds, because how many training days have you been to where the same group of 5 people are doing all the work? And the the 50 some other people are showing up, running their dog in the field, packing up and going home. So is it the fact that they just don't know how to help and do it? Yeah, possibly. And then they don't feel comfortable asking, how do I plant a bird? Because it seems like everybody should just know how to do that.
Been done.
Right. Or do they really just think like it's okay to show up and then go home? So that could be, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt of maybe they just don't know. And so that's what we're teaching. We're making sure that they all go home having those skills of, now you learn this, you're going to go to your next training day and you're going to be volunteering. And I can tell you that since that camp, I know I can name several women that have showed up at their training days, not even run their own dogs. And they were just there helping.
Well, I think that goes back to like, for the listeners of the podcast, and the thing that we talked about after the Women on the Wings luncheon at the Pheasant Fest Quail Classic, is that idea that you can be a leader at every level, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I think that it's intimidating, I mean, and we could talk ad nauseum about the random, stupid, lame things that people say to women in the outdoors, right? Like, that are undercutting and diminishing, and that make us feel like, that we don't have a place in there. But like outside of that, I mean, I think that idea of, you don't have to know it all to be a leader, and you don't have to know it all to be a mentor. So if you learn how to wing lock pigeons or put pigeons in traps, you are now empowered to be a leader in teaching people how to do that one step. And Absolutely. I think a lot of times we wait for like complete proficiency, right? Well, like, I'm not going to step in and I'm not going to jump in on this, and I'm not going to do this until like I really know and understand. And if we wait for proficiency, we're not ever going to do anything, because proficiency is a continuum, right? Like when I talk to professional dog trainers, when I work with professional dog trainers, it's not like they're like, well, I'm 30 years into this business and I don't have anything left to learn, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I was showing Jeff Funky the clicker and how to work puppies with the clicker. And he was like, I've never seen that before. That's really interesting. So mm-hmm. here's a guy that's been raising, training, breeding wire hairs for 30 years. And he is still curious about other things. And so, yeah, you don't have to wait to be 100% proficient. You don't have to wait till you know it all. Like, take what you know and become a leader in that space, become a mentor in that space. And then, you know, it's just make sure that you let people know those expectations. Like, I went to my first NAVHDA test with Bird Dog when he was 9 months old, and I received incredibly clear communication from my breeder. Mm-hmm. He said, the test is 3 days long. You better plan to show up a day early or stay a day later because you need to volunteer. And that was like super clear information, right? Like, if you're going to show up at that test and you're going to run your dog, you are expected to be there the day before to set birds or the day after to set birds. And I think I might have even said to him, was like, I don't even like, what would I do? And he's like, don't worry, there will be something for you to do. And so I wonder how many people get that direct information from when like they pick up their puppies. Like, all of these breeders have these, you know, we expect you to run your puppy in natural ability. And how many tests have you been at where people show up and they have signed up their puppy for natural ability because their breeder told them to, and they have not even put their dog on a pigeon?
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
And so like that really clear expectation of like, if you guys are going to run in a test, you should go to a training day and you should plan to volunteer at the test that you run.
Yeah.
That should just be common knowledge. Like, if you're going to run a test, you need to plan to be there a day early or a day later so that you can be there. People like it takes so many people to run a training day and to run a test day. Like, let's just talk about like the field portion at our HerUpland camp, right? So we had an instructor in the field. We had 2 gunners. We had 2 bird planters, right? So now we've got 5 people. It takes a minimum of 5 people to run a single dog. So one 30-minute field session takes a minimum of 5 people. Mm-hmm. You need to be one of those 5 people for somebody else.
Right. Right. And some of that is intimidating. And I think that is something, you know, like at our training camp, how many of those women stepped up and they started planting birds? They've never done that before. And even with gunning, I mean, you and I gun the majority of the time, which isn't necessarily anything that you and I have done before gunning all day.
I was so anxious about.
Yeah.
You really, like, I'm like,
but we're like, oh, well, there's nobody else here to gun. And so we're going to do it. And then, I mean, we ended up doing really well, to be fair. Really well. We did. But then look at the other women. They're like, great team. We do. I love shooting stuff with you. I would like to reword it, but I really like shooting things with you.
I know. I really like it when my dogs don't blow up your points so that you can shoot things, but that's a story for another day.
It's a story for another day. And I still love your dogs, and I still love you.
Dear podcast listeners,
there was a 4-foot male bomber sage grouse this one time.
There was the one time where
Angus threw it on his largest point, most gorgeous point I've ever seen. We'll talk about it one day.
We'll talk about it another time.
I forgive dog. I forgive your dog, and now that big male can go back to the lek next year and can do great things and can breed 37 females in 37 minutes is what I learned a couple weeks ago.
That is crazy. That is crazy. I did not know that. That is a great tidbit. I cannot wait for like that to come up somewhere in conversation, just to drop that.
Good one.
Yeah. Did you know that the record for servicing females on a lek goes to a singular sage grouse male who bred 37 females in 37 minutes? That's like just a record for like, I mean, does he also hold the record for like the fastest nap? Like, how is he getting between all of those ladies without a nap? But anyhow.
Yeah. Anyhow. I don't even remember where we were. Oh, gunning.
Yeah, gunning. Well, I just like stepping into it because I feel like we started gunning together and we felt good. And then once we sort of got our feet underneath us and I was like, you know what, I'm pretty confident I can hit some birds. Then we traded out. And as much as I hated it, because I was like having such a good time in the field with you, I was like, somebody else needs to gun with Courtney, because part of gunning is feeling confident that if you miss, your partner will, like if you don't have the shot or if you miss your shot, that your partner will make it. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's an important thing, is to just like, to pair people up. And then it was like, okay, cool. You want to learn to gun? You don't have a lot of confidence? Awesome. Mm-hmm. Courtney is currently on fire. Like, get out there, walk that field with her. Know that, you know, because there's so much pressure when you go out there as a gunner, right? Because like you really want to drop that bird appropriately for that dog, right?
Yeah.
It makes you anxious. And so like pick a partner, man, pick a partner that
but it also helps when to see other people doing it, right? Like if it hadn't been you and me and I was out there walking along or planting birds and I saw two women out there probably going out of, you know, their comfort zone, I'd be like, well, that really inspires me to want to give that a try. And even though I might be a little worried that I might not do great, I'm really inspired by them to give this a try. And I know that it'd be worth it. So that's huge, is to see other people doing it. And I came off, you know, I had a bad, kind of a interesting situation this summer where I had been in a training day and I feel like I was shooting really well. And I was walking back to my truck and a gentleman came up to me and said, "You shoot pretty well for a girl." And, you know, and I think it's comments like that where I guess, and I could say I didn't really take it personally but I did, because the fact that I continue to kind of circle around to that, I think I did take it like, really, dude?
Yeah. See, when you called him a gentleman, I would have been like, yeah, that's not the word I would have said.
Yeah. And,
you know, and
but it also, but that kind of stuff also drives me, right? Mm-hmm. Like if he hadn't said that, I wouldn't have been like, okay, now I want a gun for utility test one day. And you know what? I did that this year. I gunned for utility test that one day, and it was really great. It was really great. And now I'm like, I want a gun for the Invitational one day. And while I didn't gun during the Invitational, I went out there and I helped clear the fields at the Invitational. So I feel like I'm inching my way to that position. But yeah, it's, you know, it's all that stuff. And I can't tell you how many things like that we've done with our dogs simply because somebody told us that we would never do it.
Oh,
so
how did I get a German wire hair pointer? People told me that I wasn't up for it.
That you what?
that I wasn't up for it, that was the dog for me, that I'd be outmanned. You know, so yeah. I mean, and I think that's like, just to circle back a little bit, because one of the reasons that we wanted to do this podcast was to tell everybody where you've been.
Yeah.
Which is, you have been elbows deep in HerUpland.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And I am so grateful, honored that you've asked me to be part of it with you, because we want to create a space where women can be comfortable doing stuff and get comfortable training their dogs and hunting, so that A, they can do it alone, so that B, that they can weather those unfortunate comments that people seem to feel necessary to make, and to really get out there. And the vision that you have for this project and how it has grown and flourished, and the amount of energy that you have put into it is really astounding. And that is really, in all honesty, amongst other things, puppies, raising children, going to grad school, working another job, maintaining a relationship with your wonderful husband, is really what has taken
being a mom full-time all summer.
I put
they
that
aren't
in,
in school.
Being a mom, being a full-time mom, all that sort of stuff. Like, you've really been working on this HerUpland project, and we have a lot of really exciting things. Like, we are T-minus 9 days and counting to the second Western Montana women's grouse camp, which is super excited. We should talk more about, but I want to make a little list here. We've got a website coming out. You've been working on that, so we'll have a website out soon, and then training camps for next summer. Like, we've talked, like, if you are a lady and you're listening to this podcast and you are not excited or interested in putting dog training camp, I don't know what else to tell you other than it's like the best time that we ever had. We pluck birds, we clean guns, we stayed up till 3:00 in the morning drinking whiskey and solving the world's problems. There were no bears. My mom
there was
was
zero
there.
bears.
We had cake. Like, I don't know.
There was cake. I don't remember cake. I feel like there was no cake.
Oh no, there were the cookies.
Yeah, cookies.
Those amazing cookies. Those amazing cookies.
I was like, if there was cake, I would remember it. There was zero cake. I mean, however, there will be cake at grouse camp.
Yeah, there will be.
We do know that.
Double top secret on that.
Yeah. But no, the HerUpland, like, I'm stoked about, right? Like, I started that a couple years ago, and it went a direction I wasn't kind of envisioning, but I was like, oh, this works. But it also had another ownership in it, which did end up being a great idea. And now I have it 100% back, and I can take it to the vision and to the realm that I had originally intended it to be. But the best part about all this is that I have a team now, and this team happened because there was a need for it. Like, we have some creatives, we have some IT, we have strategic planners, we have website designers, we have graphic illustrators, and to name names, because this, like, everybody here is currently in a volunteer position. Not a single one of us has taken a penny from all these efforts. Besides you, Katie Willis, who has stepped into a major role with this, Amanda Ponte, Brandy Garcia, Naomi Coates, and Amy Ravinius. And these are women that have straightforward come to me and said, I love what you're doing here, and I want to be a part of it. And it's me going, oh my God, I would love you to be a part of it, but I have nothing to offer. I have nothing to offer you. And it's all of you saying, I don't care, because what is happening here fulfills me. And I just want to be part of it. And so none of this could be happening if it wasn't for all of you. And so for that, I am truly, absolutely grateful. Because there is a lot of great stuff coming. There's a lot of great stuff that has happened, but like the plans that all of you have helped streamline, and getting things in order. Like, I'm not the best person to notice some of the holes. And it's great that I have people that can point them out in a really professional manner, in a creative manner, and go, yeah, how about we do this? And so, yeah, it's great. But what started it is, I mean, when I moved here from Wisconsin in September of 19, there was nothing more that I wanted was to meet like-minded women.
Yeah.
And because I left a lot of really great people in Wisconsin. And then we all know what happened in February of 2020, where nobody was able to get out and meet anybody. So that put a kibosh to it. Also, the reason that I started the podcast was to try to meet like-minded women. But that January, I was invited to go to a women's hunting camp. And I was so stoked. It was like my first opportunity to finally go meet other women. And when the information was sent to me, like, I literally started crying because it was $5,600 to be able to attend this weekend women's hunting event, and I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And I wanted nothing more than to be hunting with women and bird dogs, and I couldn't afford it. And that was the only reason I couldn't go. Yeah. And it was absolutely heartbreaking. And I don't want getting into hunting or being able to elevate your hunting skills and education where that would prohibit somebody from being able to go out and do this alone. I don't want cost to be that reason, because it shouldn't be a reason. It shouldn't be a reason. And that's why the goal of this has been able to provide something affordable to get into. But with that comes, some setbacks of, we are going to be sleeping in tents that are surrounded by electric fencing so the bears don't eat us. We're going to be in rustic cabins where, you know what I learned last year? Not everybody knows how to start a fire. So we're going to teach people how to start fires so that they can stay warm at night in these cabins. And we're going to provide at least 4 youth spots that are 100% sponsored, so that no young woman will have to pay to come to this, because they are the future. And if they have any desire in their heart to learn how to do anything upland or train their bird dogs, we want them to be in this space without zero hesitation. So that's the goal. We don't have a lot of funds in the bank, but we're working really hard. Really hard to do that.
I think just that, like, you have such amazing integrity, which I love. And you're just a really honorable person. And I love how inclusive that you're making this space. Like, there's a lot of reasons that I'm attracted to this and this project, and I want to work on this. But the accessibility and the inclusivity really strike a chord with me, because, there are spaces that exist in the United States that are beautiful and pristine in a way that shouldn't exist, but exist because of hunting and fishing, because of hunting and hunters and anglers. Hunters and anglers are the backbone of conservation. And for me personally, and this is my selfish self, I don't know what would happen to me if I didn't have the ability to put my feet down and walk across an unencumbered landscape and soak in all that exists in that place. It is the best way for me to refuel myself. It is how I find my centering. It is where I'm at my happiest. And it is the only place I've found to deal with my sadness and to deal with my heartache, is to have unencumbered wild spaces. And there are vast tracts of the United States that are full of all manner of resources that could be extracted for some other purpose that are not, because of what hunters and anglers have done over the course of the last 100 years. Mm-hmm. And selfishly, I want that to continue. And for that to continue, I need more people to care about these spaces the way that I care about these spaces. And it can't just be people who have the money, the access, that were born into it, that have anything like that. It needs to be available for every single American, for every single person, regardless of economic status, age, gender, ethnicity, whatever, to be able to have access to these spaces so that they can care about them and that we can continue to preserve those spaces. And so in that sense, I am incredibly selfish in this mission, and I love it that this is so important to you too, because of that, because it's not this, economically outrageous thing that I like. If I were back to my 28-year-old self that had just gotten her first baby bird dog and really wanted to get out and get after it, I couldn't have afforded that camp that you were talking about, but I could have probably scratched together that HerUpland training camp, Yeah. And that just speaks to a caliber of human being that I just have so much respect for, Courtney, and that is you.
Well, samesies. Same. It's there's so much to it though, right? Like it's a lot of the things of bringing together, like when I did the survey, when people signed up for registration for the dog training camp, I asked, what are you most looking forward to? 90% of those people said being around like-minded women. That says something. And we hear the struggles and we hear some of the things, and maybe we just aren't there yet. Maybe society just isn't there yet. But the numbers continue to increase, and we can rattle off the stats all day long. I have them sitting right here. Of course I do.
Of course you do. And that is why we're a great partnership, because you have a stack of research and data and notes for what our topic would be about, and I am on my second Coors Light. But for the listeners of prior Courtney and Kate podcasts, if you can't see it, what you will notice is that I have not dropped an F-bomb this entire talk, and it is entirely because I put my stethoscope around my neck, and I have been trained not to swear when I have a stethoscope on, and so that is the cause of my good thing.
Yeah. So for the sake of the stats, now that we brought it up, because now people might want to know. But okay. In 2016, 11.7% of hunters were women. And that continued to 17, 18, 19 went up to 11.8. 2020 was 12.6. 2021 went to 12.3. So what they're saying is women are the largest growing demographic, but they aren't coming back the next year and renewing the license. So what is it? What experiences are they having or not having? What's that?
It doesn't retain.
Yeah,
right?
That doesn't retain. Yeah.
That's the whole thing of I feel like, that's the hidden piece, and that to me speaks of a really important part of all these conversations about the introducing new people to hunting, introducing new people to the outdoors in any way, shape, or form, but doing so in a way that causes them to share some of that love and that passion. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell an anecdote, and I'm going to cop to this. This is probably this could be 100% urban legend. But this is a thing that I knew, and a story that I'd been told several times, back when I was a river guide. And, I used to run the Rogue River, which is a beautiful watershed in southwestern Oregon. It's gorgeous. It's a beautiful river, and it happens to be included in the 1963 Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. And the legend goes that, and this part is true. This part is true. When the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act was initially drafted, the Rogue River was not on it. It wasn't on it. It wasn't included in it. And somehow when LBJ signed it, the Rogue River was on it. And this is the part of legend that I cannot prove one way or the other. And that is that somebody had fished the Rogue River and knew it to be a beautiful place full of wild steelhead and bears and blackberries, and just an amazing spot. And they were a friend of LBJ's, and they called LBJ and said, "Hey man, you shouldn't agree to sign the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act unless they put the Rogue River on it." And that's the legend, right? Like, that's the legend, that's how the Rogue River went from not being on the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act to being on the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. And I can attest that river is worth saving, right? And so I think about this with hunting and fishing and outdoors and general pursuits, is that you have no idea who you are impacting. And if you have the ability to help someone love these spaces, you don't know the downstream benefit of that, in that you get people out there, you get people loving wild places. You don't know who they're going to call. You don't know how that might change the way that they purchase products, or donate their money, or talk to their politicians about these spaces. And so, I think that's, this just goes back to this thing about like HerUpland. And what I love about it is that it's inclusive, and it brings people in, and it's really there not just to be a flash in the pan and be like, oh, here's this crazy thing you did for the summer. It's to really teach women to be in these spaces and retain them in a way that that number can grow, so that,
Mm-hmm.
X number of women started hunting this year, and then they stayed, right?
Yeah.
And they stayed.
And they taught somebody else, or they brought somebody else out with them, because they felt like they had enough knowledge that they had gained, put to the test. It's that, right, Katie? It's that mission of learn, do, teach, right?
Yeah. What is it? In medicine, they say, see one, do one, teach one, right? Yeah. That's the rule. See one, do one, teach one.
Yeah.
To really retain that. And I think we can keep ticking down your statistics. What is I can't remember what the stat is on children that have a father that have a certain amount of likelihood of becoming adult hunters, and children who have a mother that hunts are more likely to have to stay in hunting. And so, like, it's the whole thing. It's getting the family out. It's getting away from the TV, the whole, like, no child left inside, right? I got to take my niece on her first pheasant hunt last Saturday. And it was so special, to get that little kiddo out there. And it wasn't just her. There were 5 or 6 other kids out there on their first pheasant hunts, and the smiles, right? Like the smiles and the enjoyment and the engagement of that, where it's like,
and we shouldn't condone it, regardless of how that looks, and it just still makes me mad that I still had to hear that comment about how women or dads are taking the kids in the backpacks, and how they're just doing it for the gram. Because you know what? Like, I just saw another photo today of a father that took his kid hunting, and they got a rough grouse, and that experience, and you can see that story. And people that are condoning that and making fun of it, or calling it unsafe, is really, really disturbing to me. And it really shows true character of someone. Because the more you can get those kids out there and experiencing it, whether it's hunting or whether it's just the outdoors, it doesn't matter. There should be no difference in what we're doing with the kids all summer long and hiking and looking for wildlife than it is in those fall, winter months, having a gun along with. Same thing.
I can tell you this right now. Me and my two sisters were in backpacks, and we were hiked and hunted with my parents growing up. And there are 3 outdoors hunting wilderness women in my family. And so you can't tell me that wasn't formative. And I think it's like, I mean, I go out there and I go hunting and I go hiking, and all I have to worry about is myself and like my dog. And I swear to God, I have so much respect for parents. I have so much respect for parents. Like, you guys that are out there raising your kids and doing everything that you can, as expensive as they are, as time consuming as they are, it is amazing. And I want to support you and I want to love you. And again, back to Katie's selfish, I am wholly dependent on your children to grow up and be upstanding human beings, because I don't have children of my own, and I need your kids to be good. And part of like that is like, I have never, my earliest formed memories of anything that I can remember is being in the woods with my parents. And if anything that we're doing with HerUpland gives a parent, male or female, mom or dad, a little more comfort, a little more confidence.
Yeah.
So a community that supports them, so that they are like, heck yeah, you know what? I am going to have Final Rise make me these special pouches to put on my Osprey backpack so that I can take my kiddo out.
Yeah.
Because that's like, it's so funny to me that people will talk, like people who talk out of both sides of their mouths, right? Where they're like, oh, this younger generation and all of their like computers and phones and da. And then at the same time are like, who are these parents who are like packing their kids in backpacks? And I'm like, those are the parents that don't want their kids on the damn phone.
Right. Well, because that's just the thing, you know, with us, one of us has to stay home. Okay. If it comes down to the kids aren't going to go with, then one of us has to stay home. And so we really enjoy hunting together. So we figured out a way that we bring the kids with, and we don't force them. It's an enjoyable experience. We pack snacks, we put hearing protection on them. We do the things that my daughter wakes me up at 5:30 in the morning, waking me up, we go hunting today. And that's what it's about. Don't tell me that putting her in a backpack is some kind of child abuse that I'm forcing her to do.
But that's the thing though, Courtney, is like, I have the privilege of getting to be around you and your family. And as anybody who kind of knows anything about me, I've had some heartbreak this year. And it's been challenging for me to get through. It's every day. And it's been challenging for me to want to train a dog, or for me to even want to go hunting, because I'm missing my best pal. I'm missing my partner in this. And your children are a joy and delight, and your family is amazing. And that is a testament to you. It's a testament to William. It's a testament to the goals that you've set for yourself as a family and the things that you've done. And part of that is that you take them. It's that you take them. And it's that they're comfortable out there. I would hunt with you and William and your kids any day because they are a joy to be around. Yeah. Do they have problems? Do they have meltdowns? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Do I have problems? Do I have meltdowns? Hell yeah. Right. But just, I think that just back to the reasons that like being in the wilderness is so grounding, and it's not just grounding for me, it's grounding for everybody. And that you are creating compassionate, aware, responsible, knowledgeable, confident children. A huge part of that is that you take them hunting. And if you are in the hunting sphere and you can't see that that's a connection, then you're blind. Mm-hmm. You're absolutely blind to your kids know where their food comes from. Right. They know the impact of their lives on the environment. They know the difference between right and wrong. They know so many things that they have learned from the experience of being taken out into the woods. And I know that to be true because that's how I know those things. And it's because my parents took me with them. It's because they took me hunting. It's because they took me in the wilderness. It's because they taught me action consequence in this most beautiful place. And they taught me responsibility for myself and others with hunter safety, with game management, with butchering all of our own food, with all of those sorts of things. And if you're in the hunting community and you look at parents taking their kids hunting and you look down on them, you miss the point.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to go back to the woods and clear your head because you're missing it. Like you're missing it. You're missing this whole process. If you don't see those connections between,
you're missing out.
Yeah, you're just missing out. And yeah.
So a couple more of my stats that I'm going to get out here because I did a lot of work on these.
You did. Did
a lot of work.
So you do a lot of work.
I do a lot of work. I do a lot of work. So interesting. And I had help with this. So I called on help for these. But in the JGHV, 17.2% are women. In the American field, 15% are women. And in NAVHDA, 21% are women. Gotcha. So AKC, we don't have any stats because they don't really have that. They don't keep those, they say. But yeah, so I thought that was really interesting that, it's still considered a minority. And thinking of ways that we can maybe build that community more and the importance of that retention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's part of it. So it's not just, in the dog training camps, we're teaching them important things to be able to help learn, do. But in the hunting camps, it gets a little bit more intense.
It's intense. It's like a fire at the circus.
It is. We have a biologist come in and teach them about habitat, the bird characteristics. We have professional shooting instruction. Mm-hmm. We have this year, Rough Grouse Society, Ashley Peters is coming in and talking about the ethics in hunting, concepts of conservation. We have Montana FWP coming in to talk about upland hunting rules and regulations. Gun cleaning, we're going to have a feathers and leathers crafting area because these birds are beautiful. Their feathers are best displayed somewhere rather than thrown into the garbage can, I think. And what's really cool is we're having a shotgun patterning course. There's a lot of cool things, but
I feel like every time that you start listing this off, I'm like, man, I hope that I get to go to all of the sessions. Like you haven't even mentioned the give a pluck bird plucking seminar.
You're putting on the plucking seminar, of course, and you're doing the
mother plucker, me and my mother plucking.
Yes.
But I'm like, man, I want to make sure I make it to all the other sessions. Like,
yes,
it really is.
It's good.
I mean, the thing of it is, it's gonna be intense. Like people, the ladies that are signed up they better come fully hydrated and ready.
They're ready.
Yeah,
they're ready.
It's gonna be big, and then not to mention the fact that we do that. So we do that for 2 days, and then we have 2 days of hunting.
Yeah. Yep. So we extended it a day this year because we pushed it all into, what was it? It was arriving on a Thursday, and then so we had Thursday through Sunday. So this year they're all arriving Wednesday, so that we have 3 full days then. So we'll have 2 days of kind of seminars and the learning aspect, and then 2 days of hunting. And Tracy Wright of Dark Horse Shooting is going to be doing the shooting instruction. Lee Chose of Boss Shotshells is coming.
Not just Lee.
And he's going to be doing the shotgun patterning and talking about chokes and Hannah Leonard.
Bosco.
What?
Don't forget Bosco.
Bosco the Cocker's coming.
Bosco the Cocker's coming.
Yes. Hannah Leonard is going to be talking on sporting lead free. Andrew Willard with Onyx. And what's cool is, like, you know, we've had a couple pre-sessions, Zoom sessions of getting people prepared and kind of going through the stuff, so we don't have to take up time doing it during camp. But like, I love what Onyx is doing, and they're a huge supporter of HerUpland. But
they've been on board from the very get-go, which is amazing.
Absolutely they have. But it's such an important tool, and it's something that we use every time we go hunting. And heck, even on my way home from the Invitational, when I was looking for places to camp, you know, throw up my tent somewhere on some BLM land, I was using Onyx to find that. So
well, and it's made me a better friend to you, because now instead of just like going off into the woods, and I send you a pin and I'm like, hey,
you let me know where you are so I don't have to worry.
This is where I'm going to park the truck. And if you don't hear, I should be back by 6. If you don't hear from me by 9.
Thank God. My goodness. It's like, I don't know. I don't, ever since I've had kids, like I have grown this worry gene. It's really awkward, but thank you for respecting that.
It's why I didn't have children. I was going to, and then I was like, oh God, I hate worrying.
That's legit.
Yeah. No, Onyx, I mean,
but yeah, it's gonna be good. But well, you know, there's a lot to learn, but at the same time, you like, kind of like we discussed, the camps aren't for everybody. It's different. There's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of women's kind of learn to hunt programs, and they're all great. Mm-hmm. They're all great, because any opportunity to get out in the field and learn how to do it and get involved is a really great thing.
Yeah.
But
we're going to make people uncomfortable.
Yeah, we're going to make them uncomfortable. Yeah, absolutely.
Like this is the whole, it's time to crack the shell. Like, I think that's part of, you know, like HerUpland is a place that you come if you're ready to crack your shell.
Yeah.
Right? If you're ready to really push the bounds of your comfort, because, you know, it's rugged. It's not, there's no manicured lawns. There's no planted birds.
There's 0 5 stars. It's not a 5-star resort. You're not getting a chef. They're not plucking your birds for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, define 5 stars, right? Because I feel like I have a 5-star experience, but, but like, in the sense of like that, like, this is, you know, I think that this is that, like, if you paid $5,600 to go to a hunting camp, there might be a certain set of expectations. Our hunting camps what we're trying to keep everything like less than $1,000 is that kind of our goal right now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, you kind of need to know that, you know, that means that you're going to be expected to pitch in, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, if we charge people $5,600, we can hire bird planters.
Yeah.
Right. But we're not doing that. Like, we're not doing that because that's not empowering. Right.
Right.
There's a time and a space for everything. And, I love a trip to the spa as much as anybody. But then there's a difference when you go, like, the kind of hunting that I like to do is sun up to sundown, boots on the ground. You're probably going to get a blister and you're not going to say boo about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're here to really push, the level of comfort. And,
right.
And that is kind of what this is. Like, you know, if we did that one dusky grouse hunt together last year when we were first brand new friends, like the day after you almost wanted to murder me for being misplaced in the woods. And that was a burly ass hunt.
It is.
Like, we were scrambling, like the deadfall, and it was wet. And like, I think every fourth step, I put my foot down, and it turns out I was on a rotted log at a 45-degree angle, and my whole foot went out from underneath me. I mean, and we were climbing, like, you know, to get to work across that ridge, you know, and we found a couple, we flushed a couple grouse. We didn't have a shot. Like, there wasn't a shot in those trees.
Right.
But it was a beautiful and amazing hunt. I had a great time. I was super, super sweaty. I needed like 3 Milky Ways. You know, but that's the thing, is like, that's the aesthetic. And if that's not your aesthetic, that's cool, man. Like, you do your thing. But like, when you come to HerUpland stuff, you better be ready to crack that shell.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's not, there's no time for afternoon naps. We have full days. We have full days. There will be no siestas. There may be margaritas at the end of the day, up to you. But there's also going to be disappointment and unfortunate loss of expectations, because it's at a lot of these events, you can go to a preserve and shoot some pheasants that are put out for you. But here we're learning about what ideal habitat looks like. You are doing the work to use what you just learned with Onyx, with Andrew, to be able to scout some ideal areas. You're going to go to them and go, oh yeah, we just spent a couple hours here and there was no birds. You might not see a bird all weekend. That's real life hunting, folks. You are not going to go to a game preserve and shoot planted pheasants that have been raised in a pen. These are wild birds. This is real stuff.
And they move around, and like,
I
mean, you know, I've gone on a couple of grouse hunts where I've shot grouse damn near back at my truck, where I'm like, I walked here already. Like, I already walked here. I walked here. There were no birds. And then they moved in. And I think that's like, you know, we'll have another conversation and other conversations about Onyx and getting pins, but like, all of the e-scouting in the world, I mean, it's good. You should know how to do it. You should know how to use Onyx. You should be able to sit on an evening in the comfort of your home and scroll maps. But every pin that I have ever gotten that was worth a shit is because of boot leather. Yeah. It's because of leather. And that's what it is. And like, I have now been out, just because of current life circumstances, I've only gone out for forest grouse here in Oregon twice this year. And I haven't seen so much as a feather. And I was hunting some of the same spots that I hunted last year. I switched it up. I did a bunch of e-scouting. I talked to other people, and the birds are not in the same places that they were before. I don't think that the berries are as good, right? Like, so you start noticing all these things where it's like, oh man, the habitat isn't what it was last year. Like, you're not seeing, not seeing the berries that I wore last year. I'm not seeing these different things that I saw last year. And that's the whole thing, is like, you want to go hunting, you better be ready for days where you get nothing in your bag, where you don't get a shot, where your puppies blow up your birds, where you hike all day, but like, it's boots on the ground, right? Like, they talk about like in fishing that like steelhead are the fish of 1,000 casts. Like, to catch a steelhead on a fly, you should expect to cast 1,000 times. And that's the kind of fish that they are. And I would say the same thing with bird hunting, where like really good bird hunting, like is a bird of 1,000 steps. Like, you're going to walk and you're going to have to walk through, it's funny, cause like we did that sharp-tail and sage grouse hunting, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be great. Like, right. Like, it's flat. It's not the trucker hunting I'm used to. Shit, the snakes, the cactus, the coulees, the heat, the lack of water. Like, we worked hard.
Yeah.
Like, we worked hard for those birds. And it wasn't just all of a sudden that just because there was like the elevation was different, like there wasn't the topographical relief, that it wasn't like we didn't work hard for those birds. And we had some great hunts, but it's boot leather, man. It's boot leather.
It is. And yet, how many times, you get to an area and you're like, oh, this has all the right things. We have the rose hips here, where it's some great riparian, great cover. It's nice and thick. Like, we are going to get into some grouse. And you're like, why aren't you here? You should live here. Don't you know this is your oasis? You would thrive in this location. Why aren't you here?
Oh God. One of my favorite pictures from our weekend in Montana is me sitting on a water tank halfway through a hunt. And Chloe took it. Our friend Chloe took it. Sky's sitting below me and I'm like pointing, right? Like, I'm pointing and it looks like I know what I'm talking about. And basically what I'm doing is like, oh God, there's got to be birds over there. There's got to be birds over there. Like, this looks like amazing habitat. Everything I've read, we should find huns up there. We should find Sharpies down here, blah, 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 blah. And all we found was a damn quill pig that Sky chomped. And then we had to pull pig, but it's like this funny picture of like this moment where like, there I am just like, oh yeah, like I've got my arm out in front of me and I'm like pointing out like where we should walk. And we walked.
Just keep walking.
We just kept walking. We just kept walking.
I know. I looked at my miles from that week. I was like, wow, that was a lot of miles without very many birds in the bag.
Yeah.
But that's another podcast too, because I'm really curious about kind of the differences this year that I've seen in other years and where the birds are located. So yeah, interesting stuff. But yeah, the HerUpland thing I'm excited about. I'm stoked. Super excited to have you guys. But yeah, we're continue to raise funds to make sure the kids and their chaperones are taken care of. And if we do have proceeds, we donate 2% of the proceeds to our conservation partner of choice for whatever that is. So like for grouse camp, we are doing 2% with Rough Grouse Society, American Woodcock Society. So yeah, and we're grateful to them. If it wasn't for the NAVHDA International, Big Sky Chapter, Rough Grouse Society, those are the folks that are helping. They've helped this year with all the youth spots. So we're grateful to them. And now we have a website. Amy Ravinius has done an amazing job building this website for us. We continue to work on it every day. I was out of contact pretty much for the last 2 weeks. And so I'm happy she's bared with me with some patience and helping her with the website. But yeah, it's going, and we have a donations page up. So if anybody is inclined to help with those spots for next year, because in 2023, we are increasing to 4 pointing dog camps and 2 hunting camps. So, and those locations are going to be dispersed.
We have 8, what is that? There's 4 hunting camps is 16 youth participants. So we have 20 youth participant spots to sponsor next year.
Yep.
Feel free to throw your name on one of those. FYI, big news from Siren, right? Like,
yes,
there's be a raffle.
We are. Yeah. So I think we're gonna put that down for the first time at Pheasant Fest, right? We need to contact Pheasant Bob and figure out how to get a booth spot for Pheasant Fest this year. But yeah, so we're gonna raffle off a Siren Elos D2 for the year, and that is going to be one of our biggest fundraisers for the youth spots. Super exciting. And we're also be working on some of the projects. We're going to be doing the feathers and leathers. We're going to be putting together some stuff to sell at Pheasant Fest as well. Yeah. So all the little things will help.
All the little things will help, and and I just can't wait.
It's going to be so great.
I just can't wait. It's just, I think of just the women just from the first training dog camp that I'm now, some of them on a weekly basis, touching base with, and supporting triumphs and challenges and all the rest of it is really beautiful. And, it's really community. And yes, it is primarily for women, but we wholeheartedly accept gentlemen who don't make unkind comments.
That's true. It's true. And some of our instructors are men. And I think that's important for us to embrace too, like it's, it's a women's event, but I think it's just as important for women to learn from men that are willing to give solid advice and deliver it in a really respectable manner as it is for, like there's men camps out there, dog training camps, seen them happening. I would love to see some women instructors at those camps.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't it be great? It would. And hey, maybe we're going to make that happen, because I have had men say, boy, I would really love to attend your grouse camp. So, you never know what's going to happen in the future.
Co-ed camps in the future.
Absolutely.
Sky's the limit. And I'm so happy to be part of this. And I'm so happy to have this relationship with you and all of the other women and all of the other fellas. And gosh, I just hope everybody has a great season. It's a really great season. It's just going to be a great season.
It's going to be a great season. It is. And I do want to address one of the things that I've heard some feedback from, because right now they're pointy dog camps, and obviously upland bird dog breeds.
Flushers. What about the flushers?
Yeah, we are. We're going to have flusher, retriever. Yeah, you better get that stethoscope back on before something happens. And you cause me editing, because right now I'm just rolling this out 100% in 0 editing time. But yeah, so we are, as we grow, so bear with us, everybody. As we grow, we are going to have the flushing retrievers, those as well. They're very much there. Next year, we're going to have a horseback camp, which is going to be amazing. So yeah, because all those venues are important to our dog sports. So
well, and I think along those same lines, like we got a lot of requests after the first training camp all across the United States, and I think this is an important thing for those that are listening with bated breath for what we're planning. We had a lot of asks, and we spent a lot of time talking and chewing on what this would look like. And one of the very important goals of this is that it exists 10 years from now, that it exists 15 years from now, that it exists 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, that it's a sustainable enterprise. And so bear with us as we build it, because we're limiting ourselves to 4 training dog camps this summer, all sort of in the Northwest, because we want to be able to put this together, build it, get feedback, rebuild it until we have we want to build an incredibly solid footing on which to make a platform to move forward. And so, yes, we totally want a camp in the Southeast, and we are definitely doing something in the Southwest, and we will be up in the Northeast, and we will be in Central and South Central and in California and up in Alaska, and we're going to go everywhere. Just bear with us as we work through this to really build something that not only you come to, but your kids come to and your grandkids come to, and that this community really is built in an incredibly like mindful, determined way that it gets to exist forever, and it's not just a flash in the pan. So that means that we can't overextend ourselves. And so we've gotten a lot of comments, we've gotten a lot of requests from all over the United States, and it's not that we don't want to be there. We want to be everywhere all the time for everybody, and we just have to,
where these events have sold out in less than 2 hours of posting them on social media, which is amazing. It also shows how much interest there is in them. But it also, we can't produce something because there's such a need for it or a want for it. We have to keep it at a level where it remains organized, professional, and that people are getting something out of it, because that's what it's for. It's for the educational and learning aspects. And to just throw a bunch of them together and go around sloppy isn't how we want it to work. So it needs to be 100% intentional. And so that's why we're just limiting it to the few people we have right now. I named the names. There's 6 of us. There's 6 of us making it go. And I hope that continues to build one day. And if people are interested, please reach out. Because we hope to make it areas that are prominent all over the U.S. But you said all Northwest, and it's going to be Wisconsin. So that is considered Midwest.
Midwest. Yeah. We are doing Wisconsin. I'm super excited. Go Pack. Beat the Bears last night. So good.
I love it. I love that you're a Packers fan, because that's super cool for me as a Wisconsin girl. I love it.
Well, you know what? I might not be from Wisconsin, but I know a good thing when I see one.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with cheeseheads that love beer and brats.
Bird dogs.
But see, we're talking about all the need for like more women in the podcast space, and I feel like that could be a great podcast. Beer, brats, and bird dogs.
Beer, brats, and bird dogs. Yeah.
Where all my Wisconsin girls that want to start that podcast with HerUpland? That would be great.
Exactly. Well, if you're gonna roll this straight out, we are 2 hours into a podcast, Courtney?
Are we really? See, I don't even have my timer on. I have no idea.
Timer.
It's a long time. But I got to get back to working on the website for Amy, which, speaking of, we just got our new camo patterns that came in that we advertised. Yeah. So we have buffs.
You're gonna have to turn this into a 2-part podcast, Courtney. This podcast has gone too long.
We'll cut it off after this, I promise. We have buffs, we have wild regs. I just got noticed that koozies are being shipped out today.
Woo!
Guess what's on the koozies? A cheat sheet. It's my favorite.
It's my favorite. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, it's a cheat sheet. You guys just have to stay tuned. I'm not even going to tell you what it's a cheat sheet for, but it's going to be really appreciated for those of us that need things like that. So Yeah, hats, all of Naomi's illustrations, like the grouse camp,
Oh my gosh,
the mother chucker,
she's so talented. My
the
God.
NAVHDA scene. Yeah,
Yeah.
like they're all on there. The horseback, so they're all decals, they're all available on the website. Yeah, it's all that stuff helps. All that stuff helps us put on these great events. So
yeah.
Any closing remarks now that you made me realize that we're at 2 hours?
Well, I just am always super grateful to be invited into this space, and to everybody out there, I wish you happy hunting. I encourage you to put your money where your feet land and support conservation organizations, and then no matter what, like, never turn your back on an old wild hare.
I love it.
Don't do it.
I love it. Thanks for joining me, Katie. It's been
Courtney.
swell. We'll be having more in the future, and there are more podcasts coming out. I will start doing my editing on these recorded episodes and get them out to you. Thank you for everybody for bearing with me through the summer months and doing all the things. But I hope that what we are coming out with here, you're gonna really enjoy and appreciate. And Patreon patrons, thank you. I've continued to produce stuff for you every month to bring you some value. So what?
I was going to say, you're going to put a little bio in the front about the big Patreon patron to do this week, right?
I will. I'll put it. Yep. I'll put it in the front of the episode because it's going to be good. And so husband just added, he's going to teach people how to cape out birds.
Oh,
so that's going to be fun. Yeah. He's like, when are we doing that? I said Wednesday. So he's like, okay, I better go shoot a ruffed or dusky grouse before Wednesday.
I love that idea.
It's going to be good because they, for those that may not know the story, I shot my first spruce grouse on opening week, and the very special dog that pointed it for me and I shot it over, I was very excited about. That afternoon, I went to make a FaceTime phone call to Katie for this amazing, beautiful painting that she got of our late dog Bisto. And while I was outside on that FaceTime call thanking her with so much gratitude, Nara was inside eating my spruce grouse. And then the next day, she ate half of the pelts off of my 10-year anniversary hunt wreath. So, but...
Utility prize one.
Utility prize one. Oh, and then there's also another
she better put a VC in front of her name.
She better. And so a little bit more to that story, because now that we are continuing on with this very long podcast, is this spring Nara ate some of my children's baby chickens, and so I told her she no longer was able to be a house dog. The morning of her utility test, I said, Nara, if you get a prize one today, you can be a house dog again. So she did spend July, August, and some of September as a very great house dog until she ate the birds and ate my wreath. And so maybe now next September before the Invitational, I will ask her again if she would like to be, how badly she would like to be a house dog.
Oh man.
She's just not cutting it, I'm trying so hard because everybody loves Nara. Everybody loves Nara.
A really, really wonderful girl.
She is. She really likes to eat feathers.
She's also long-haired.
To all of the great dogs that we spend so much training, and then they go and do bad dog things. Cheers.
They're just naughty. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Bird Dog Babe podcast. I hope you can join us tomorrow for the Zoom call on my tailgate for Patreon patrons. Go to patreon.com/thebirddogbabe and check out our new HerUpland website at herupland.com. We have new apparel that just launched. We have several decals from the very talented Naomi Coates, and sign up for our newsletter and see what we're all about. Also be sure to check out the sponsors of this podcast, Purina Pro Plan, Boss Shotshells, Onyx Hunt and Partners, Siren Shotguns, and Dakota 283. And don't forget to support the conservation organizations of the birds you chase after and the public lands in which you hunt.